Yahuwah is the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing halal, hallelujah. We lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing halal, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one. With you we can. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we celebrate our champion. Halal, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing halal, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing halal, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. always win. You're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome one. And there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can, we always win. You're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can, we always win. You're our champion. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hello, hallelujah, for the King who wins victory. Yahuwah is the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can, we always win. You're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome one. There is none like you. We always win. You're our champion. Yahuwah is the one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can, we always win. You're our champion. You is the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. You're our champion. You we can, we always win. You're our champion. We lift our hands, we celebrate our champion. We sing hello, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hello, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one. And there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can, we always win. You're our champion. opportunity to celebrate with you and you this time of Sabbath rest. I want to say Todah for tuning in and being with us. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your aha. Above all, the Torah. Repeat with me, Baruch Yahuwah.
Baruch Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch
For
one. All eternity.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the people.
And gave us his Torah.
And gave us his Torah.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah. Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
Who gave
And implanted eternal life within us.
and implanted eternal life within us.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now we will have the reading of the 10 Commandments done by Mattathias.
Coming from Deuteronomy 5:6-22. Aleph. I am Yahuwah, your power which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the bed of slavery. They you shall have no other power before me. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the mind beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that are hard me and keep my commandments. Gimel, you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name, and guard the Sabbath day to set it apart, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Mitzrayim, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Okay? Esteem your Av and your image, Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. Why? You shall not murder. Saying, neither shall you commit adultery. Het, neither shall you steal. Het, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's issue, neither shall you covet your neighbor's bed, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words Yahuwah spoke unto all your assembly in the mount, out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. Devarim chapter 6, verses 1-18, and it reads, these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your power commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you are going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the yamim of your life, and that your yamim may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yasharal, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey. Shema Yasharal. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our supreme one, Yahuwah is Akkad. And you shall ahab Yahuwah your supreme one with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this yom shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. To fall to what?
To bind to the mind.
To bind to the mind. Give Torah access to your mind. And you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which he swore unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Yaakov, to give you great cities which you did not build, houses full of all great things which you filled not. and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten and be full, then beware lest you forget Yahuwah, which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. Yahuwah your power, and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after other power of the people which are round about you. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahuwah your power as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power, and his testimonies and his statutes which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the great land which Yahuwah swore unto your fathers. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let us have another song, please.
Yahuwah, we praise you. Yahuwah, we magnify you. Yahuwah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. Yahuwah, we magnify you and Baruch your Kodesh name. Yahuwah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. Yahuwah, we praise you. Yahuwah, we magnify you. Yahuwah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. Yahuwah, we magnify you and Baruch your Kodesh name. Yahuwah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. Yahuwah, we praise you. Yahuwah, we magnify you. Yahuwah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. Yahuwah, we magnify you and Baruch your Kodesh name. Yahuwah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. Yahuwah, we praise you. Yahuwah, we magnify you. Yahuwah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. Yahuwah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. Yahuwah, we praise you. Yahuwah, we magnify you. Yahuwah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. Yahuwah, we magnify you and Baruch your Kodesh name. Yahuwah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. Yahuwah, we praise you. Yahuwah, we magnify you. Yahuwah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. Yahuwah, we magnify you and Baruch your Kodesh name. Yahuwah, we lift your name all the earth. You are, we praise you. We magnify you. You are, we lift your name up high in all the earth. You are, we magnify you and Baruch your Kodesh name. You are, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. You are, we praise you. Are, we magnify you. You are, we lift your name up high in all the earth. You are, we magnify you and Baruch your Kodesh name. You are, we lift your name high in all the earth. High in all the earth. You are, we praise you. You are, we magnify you. You are, we lift your name up high in all the earth. You are, we magnify you and Baruch your Kodesh name. You are, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. You are, we praise you. Are, we magnify you. You are, we lift your name up high in all the earth. You are, we magnify you and Baruch your Kodesh name. You are, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. Come on, he's worthy, he's worthy, he's worthy. We give Baruch him for all that he's doing, all that he's done, and all that he's yet going to do. At this time, we're going to turn our attention to Yahush, the son of Nun, chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 6 and 7, and then we're going to confess verse 8. I've made it personal, didn't take anything out, but made it personal. If we're going to stand and if we're going to make it through these times, it is important that we never give up on the Torah and that we never allow it to escape from our mouths. We are to always be conscious of what person. All right, everyone is there? All right. All right. Starting with verse 6, be strong and of a great courage. For unto this people shall you divide for an inheritance the land which I swore to their Abbas to give them. Only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah which Moshe my servant commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. Verse 8. Repeat with me. I will not let this scroll of the Torah.
I will not let the scroll of the Torah
Depart out of my mouth.
depart out of my mouth,
But I shall meditate therein.
but I shall meditate therein,
Yom and Layla.
Yom and Layla,
That I may observe to do.
that I may observe to do
According to all that is written in it.
according to all that is written.
For then I shall make my way prosperous.
And then I shall make my way prosperous,
And I shall act wisely.
and then I shall act wisely.
Now look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, and you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Look at your other neighbor and tell your other neighbor, and you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely.
Take your hand and place it over your heart and say, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
Come on, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
Come on, I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so very important that we be people of wisdom in everything that we do, in our character, in everything. I don't care if it's in what we would look at as investing, spending, buying. I don't care what it is. In every aspect of our lives, it is important that we use wisdom, not the wisdom of man, but the wisdom of the Abba that He has given unto us in His instructions. And it is so.
And it is so.
Let's have another song, please. Yahuwah, you're the center of my joy, and all that's great and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, oh, the center of my joy. Yahuwah, and all that's great and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, oh, for all I do. You're the center of my joy. Yahuwah, you're the center of my joy. And all that's great and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, oh, for all I do. Yahuwah, you're the center of my joy. Yahuwah, you're the center of my joy. And all that's great and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, oh, for all I do. Yahuwah, you're the center of my joy. Yahuwah, center of my joy. And all that's great and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, oh, for all I do. Yahuwah, you're the center of my joy. Yahuwah, you're the center of my joy. All that's great and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, oh, for all I do. Yahuwah, you're the center of my joy. And all that's great and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment,
contentment. Oh, for all I do. Yahuwah, you're the center of my joy. Yahuwah, you're the center of my faith. You're the heart of my contentment. Oh, for all I do. Yahuwah, you're the center of my joy. Yahuwah, you're the center of my joy. You're the heart of all I do. Center of Yahuwah, you're the center of my faith comes from you. You're the heart of my
We appreciate him for all that he's doing in our lives. To heal him 1:1, Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of the sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the instructions of Abba Yahuwah, and he doth meditate upon it, and it is so.
And it is so.
Ibram 11:6, but without belief it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Excuse me. Tehillim 34:15. The eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17. The upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth and delivereth us out of all our troubles. Acts 1:8. Shall receive power after that. The Ruach HaKodesh has come upon us, and we shall be witnesses unto him both in Jerusalem and all Judea and in Shamar and unto the uttermost part of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so.
Mishlei 15:8. The sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination, hateful, and exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yahuwah. But the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. Mishlei 3:4. So shall you find great understanding and high esteem in the sight of judgment of Yahuwah and man. And it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 40:13-14. Be pleased, O Yahuwah, to deliver me. O Yahuwah, make haste to help me. Let them be ashamed and brought to mutual confusion who seek to destroy my life. Let them be driven backward and brought to shame. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right. Now we're going to go to Yehukanan Aleph, chapter 5, verses 1-15. Always important to keep this on the fires of our hearts. Why is it important to keep it on the fires of our hearts? I don't believe that lie that the renewed covenant has been done away with. Don't believe that lie that the renewed covenant is trash. Don't believe that, because if you believe that and you fall into that lie, you do a disservice to yourself, and it shows your relationship. Even at the day and time that we have, the fight that we have now is the same fight that our many of the forerunners had before we even hit the scene. So it's important to understand we are not fighting a fight that has not already been in existence. This fight has been in existence since the time of and even before the Mashiach was ever revealed. So it is very important that we understand why this attack will reject the Abba.
Right.
And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, chapter 5, beginning with verse 1. Not my topic or subject, but it is something very important for us to keep burning and keep on the fires of our hearts, so that we will always remember that it is in the Mashiach that we do have eternal life. And it is so.
And it is so.
Everyone who believes that Yahush is the Mashiach has been born of Yahuwah. And everyone who ahabs the one bringing forth also ahab the one having been born of hands. For this is the aha for Yahuwah, that we guard his commands, and his commands are not difficult, because everyone having been begotten of Yahuwah overcomes the world. And this is the overcoming that has overcome the world, our belief. Once again, our belief in who and what? Our belief in Yahush. Does that mean that we stop believing in the instructions of Abba Yahuwah? Absolutely not. He never said do away with that. It's important that we believe in Yahush, because he's the one that showed. Who is the one who overcomes the world but he who believes that Yahush is the son of Yahuwah? That's a question. This is the one that came by water and blood, Yahush Mashiach, not only by water, but by water and blood. And it is the Ruach who bears witness, because the Ruach is the truth. Because there are three who bear witness, the Ruach and the water and the blood, and the three are in agreement. This is important for us to understand. And you have to understand, these three being in agreement out trumps everybody else's disbelief and their so-called information that dismisses Yahush as being the son of the Abba. Mm-hmm. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
If we receive, verse 9, that are in agreement is the witness from the Abba. That is not man-made. The one who believes in the Son of Yahuwah has the witness in himself. The one who does not believe Yahuwah has made him a liar, because he has not believed the witness that Yahuwah has given concerning his Son. And this is the witness that Yahuwah has given us, eternal life. And this life is in his Son. He who possesses the Son possesses what? Life. He who does not possess the Son of Yahuwah does not possess life. I have written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah, so that you know that you possess everlasting life, and so that you believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah. And this is the boldness that we have in him, that if we ask whatever according to his desire, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we have asked of him. It is important that we understand this. Let no man or no woman steal from you. I'm about to say steal from you. Steal from you this joy and steal from you your only access and way to life, eternal life. It is very important that we understand that, because you have to understand the enemy, Shaitan, comes to do what? Steal, kill, and what?
Destroy.
And to destroy. So if he can steal from you or steal from me, that what gives us access and causes us truly to have eternal life, then guess what? He's going to take it. Especially if he can swindle it, or he can manipulate it out of your life, or manipulate him out of your life. Manipulate and take him out of your life. How does he do that? By causing us to stop believing. And I don't know about you, but we're in a time that the pressure is on. The pressure is heated up. It has been turned up to extreme levels for some of us. And so the enemy's desire is for us to stop believing. The enemy's desire for us is to get out the race. But you gotta be committed in your heart and in your mind and in your soul that I'm in it to win it. And I'm not going to give up no matter what comes my way, no matter what situations come upon my life. I'm not giving up. You have to be determined. We have to be determined as a nation of people. We're not going to give up, and that we're not going to sell him out. I refuse to sell him out, because if it wasn't for his blood, I couldn't stand, and neither could you. And so it is important that we understand this, because this is the foundation to our belief in everything else. And it's so important that we understand that. And it is so. Let us have another song, please.
I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do, 'cause I need you. No matter what I have to do, I need you, yeah, more and more. I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do, I need you, more and more. and more, I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do. I need you, yeah, more and more. I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do. I need you, more and more, more and more. I'm praising my way through. Be closer to you. I'm chasing after you. I'm praising my way through. Closer to you. I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do. I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do. I need you, yeah, more and I'm chasing after you. I'm praising my way through. Be closer to you. I'm chasing after you. I'm praising my way through. Be closer to you. I'm chasing after you. I'm chasing my way through. Be closer to you. I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do. I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do. I need you more and I'm praising my way through. Be closer to you. I'm chasing after you. I'm praising my way through. Be closer I'm chasing after you, no matter what happens to you. I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you, no matter what happens to you. I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you, no matter what happens to you. I need you more after you, no matter what happens to you. I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you, no matter what happens to you. I need you more and more.
Worthy, worthy, worthy is our King. He's worthy, he's worthy. Lift up the praise, all ye people. It is important that we remember who we're serving. It is important that we understand who we are giving praise unto and why. It is great to praise him because praise is upright for the comely. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
It is important. It is important. It is something that we do. It is something that is, we don't make it common, but it is something that we do. We praise him because he's worthy.
That's right.
It is very important that we understand that. And praise is what we do as a people. Don't get it twisted. Everybody want to praise everybody else. And I'm sure many of you have heard what Kanye West's silly self is doing. And people are praising him and saluting him for the foolishness that he's walking in and causing many of our people to walk into. Y'all better watch what you're listening to and who you're watching and what you're believing in. That boy is a nutball, and he's going to cause a lot of people to die and forfeit this way of life. You better know he's a distraction. He's a distraction, and he's demented, and he's nothing but a vice of the enemy to cause our people to fall and stray from truth. Better watch it. You better know the voice of who through his Kodesh. We understand these things because we're in crucial times. And so I pray that the Yahweh will continue to motivate you and keep you in his presence. At this time, we're going to read our affirmation. And from our affirmation, we're going to go into our declaration. And then from our declaration, we're going to have our closing song. And then we're going to close out part one of our session and then go into part two. I'll be Yahuwah willing. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right. Repeat with me. And many of you have asked and we have not forgotten. We are going to get it to you. We had some minor bumps that we had to, that we have find ourselves facing, coming through. And I will share with you, Yahuwah willing, at the first portion of our second portion of the class. But we do give Abba Yahuwah praise for all things and everything. And it is so.
And it is so.
Repeat with me. I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I have the life and nature.
I have the life and nature
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
That life is.
That life is
the Torah of Yasharol.
the Torah of Yahshua.
I purpose to walk in the Torah.
I purpose to walk in the Torah.
The Torah of life.
The Torah of life.
Yahuwah's Torah.
Yahuwah's Torah.
Yahush.
Yahush
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's knowledge.
Yahuwah's knowledge
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's ahab.
Yahuwah's ahab
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power.
Yahuwah's power
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom.
Yahuwah's wisdom
is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He He is teaching
He
me.
is leading me.
He is leading me.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach
The Ruach
HaKodesh
HaKodesh
of Yahuwah in me
of Yahuwah in me
is leading me.
is leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll walk in the Torah.
I'll walk in the Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now our declaration. Abba Yahuwah,
Our Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush,
our Mashiach,
our Mashiach,
we subdue ignorance
we subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people,
our people.
Yasharol.
Yasharol.
We unite
We unite
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Let us have our final song.
Let everything that has breath praise Yahuwah. 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 Let everything that has breath praise, that has breath praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath that has praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has praise that has praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has praise Yahuwah. Yeah, 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 Let everything that has praise Yahuwah. 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 Yeah, 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 Let everything that has praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has praise
Come on, praise him. All right, repeat with me. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you.
be desirable before you.
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
before you.
be desirable before you.
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
You may be seated in his presence. We do appreciate the Abba for all that he's doing, all that he's done, and all that he's yet going to do in the lives of us, his people. Once again, we do give praise unto him for allowing us to be here on this Sabbath, a time of rest, a time of commemoration, celebration. We do appreciate him. I said earlier that I would mention to you, some of you may have noticed that we have not been on as frequently, may have, questioned whether or not we still here. Absolutely, we have not gone anywhere. We will not change from this way of life. But we have encountered some very challenging things. Many of you know that we own property in South Carolina. And as such, excuse me, our vehicle was down for about, our truck was down for 4 months. And with that being said, last week we were able to finally, or the week before last, we were finally able to make it back home. And to get home and to find that someone had come upon our land, stole a lot of our stuff, stole some of our equipment, our solar panels, and what they didn't steal, they maliciously destroyed. They cut up our tents. They went in and ramshacked our tent, the main tent, went in and took stuff out of their valuables, and they damaged a whole lot of stuff. So we have not been on because we have been tending to that, but we are still fighters and we are still moving forward. Excuse me, and we still do give the praise because we are still alive. And they didn't take everything, but they were very malicious. Now, I'm a firm believer that when you mess with the chosen people's stuff, you're going to pay for it. And they're going to pay for what they have done. So it is a time that many of us are under pressure, a time many of us are going through different things. But determines our belief in God. I said, what does it have to do with it? It has everything to do with it. Because we can either go and get into a mully grub and a pity party and say, why, when we were constantly praying, don't let this happen, and it happened. Well, you have to understand, your belief is going to be tested. And if you're not ready for it to be tested, then you're in for a rude awakening, because all of us are going to have a time and a season to where our belief is going to be tested. Are we going to complain, or are we going to get up and we're going to move forward? One of the things that is only an opportunity for a stronger comeback. And so it's our opportunity to have a stronger comeback. Why? Because it taught us some things. One thing, never let your guard down. It doesn't matter where you are, your surroundings. You could have known these people or could know people for years. Never, ever let your guard down to the point where you think, now this would never happen to me. We're in the clear. Why would somebody want to take our stuff? Why would anybody want to bother us? We stay to ourselves. We're not bothering anything. Well, thieves are thieves. And people are going to do whatever they're going to do. But the important thing about it is our stand. Is we got to remain committed, and we got to remain forthright with ourselves and with the truth and with others. What does that mean? I'm talking about with the community. It is important that we understand that, because the moment we slip up is the moment the enemy is going to try to come in and take advantage of us. Once again, it's just come back with a stronger comeback and be able to show, hey, you're not stopping us. We're going to continue to move forward, and we're going to continue to do what the Abba has placed in our hearts to do. So I want to encourage you, if you're experiencing anything and you're going through different things and I feel like, man, this is a whole lot of pressure and it just don't seem fair and it just don't seem right, remove those thoughts from your head. Remove that from your heart. The Abba is not unmindful of the things that we go through. Right. The thing they cannot take from us is our belief. They can't take that. They can't have that because that's not made available. So things can be replaced. They can be replaced. May take a little more time, but they can be replaced. And so thankful and just thankful to the Abba for allowing us to be able to build and be able to have a start, to be able to restart. And so I want to share that with you. So if you don't see us, pray for us. Know that we have not dropped off the face of the map. Know that we are still thriving and we are still standing and holding up in truth. And that will never change. It will never change. So with that being said, let us go into the writings. I want us to turn our attention to Romania. We're going to look at this or chapters for us as the children of Yahshua to hold on to, just like you hear me read in our onset of class, Yehukanan, Aleph, chapter 5, verses 1 through 15. You will hear me read that as a foundation, as a basis, not because it's basic, but as a basis to why we stand so wholeheartedly on what we stand. It is important that we understand that this way of life has been hidden for us for so many generations, that now it is important that we, as the children of Yahshua, in this generation, recapture, reclaim, and hold on to our way of life. Recovery, restoration, and revival. Three things that the Abba gave to me on the onset of coming into truth. It is important that we understand many of the things that we were given while we were in Christianity was a lie, twisted, and distorted. Bits and pieces of truth, but not enough for us really to put the puzzle together or the pieces together to be able to understand that we are not Christians, but we are all born again believers, believing in the Mashiach who was sent by the Abba unto us for redemption. And so it is important that we understand that, very important. And as I said before, if you are under any kind of pressure or you are going through any type of situation where you feel like, this is just a lot, let me tell you something. It is important that you understand that the Abba allowed things to happen to us because he can trust us.
Right.
He can trust that we ain't gonna go crazy and get in a pity party and be vacillating between whether or not we're gonna continue to hold on to our confession of belief, or we're gonna drop out the race and run off somewhere and say, well, I lost a few things. Now, woe is me. No, many of us are going through a lot of things, but we are still holding fast to who we believe, why we believe, and the purpose of our belief. It's in our Noah. And when it's down in your Noah, can't nothing and nobody make you stop believing in this, because it is our way of life. And so I just want you to keep your head up and be encouraged to know you're not alone, and that this is just a trying of your belief. Sometimes you start thinking, well, this just really came at a very horrible time. Yes, it does come at a time that you're not really expecting it. If it wasn't, then it really wouldn't be a trying of your belief, because if you were prepared, you would have everything prepared where these things would not happen to you. That's so some things come once again to encourage us and to not throw us out or to dismiss us from truth, but to really show us where we're standing and help us to increase our belief, strengthen our belief, and just strengthen our relationship with the Abba through Yahushua HaMashiach in the Ruach HaKodesh. And so I want us to look at Romania. Why? Because Romania is very important unto us. We're going to look at chapter 5 and chapter 6, but I want to begin with verses 20 and 27, so that when we go into chapter 5 and chapter 6, we will understand what Rabbi Shaul is talking about. We will not have to be wondering, well, what is he talking about? It seemed like he just jumped out, from the top of his head and started talking about this. And it just seems like he's coming against the instructions that brought him onto a solid conclusion of who and what he was to be serving, or who he was to be serving. So it is important that we understand that we are not allowed, because of how conversations sometimes take up, because we don't tend to go back 2-3 chapters to settle or to allow the scriptures to support the other scriptures. Sometimes we don't do that. We tend to run off on a tangent and say, oh, he's going against the law. Oh, he's slamming the law. He's this, that, and he's the other, without truly examining the conversation before it got to that point. Are y'all with me? Yes. It's very important to understand that. All right, let's look at verse 20, chapter Once again, chapter 3, we're going to look at verse 20 to 27 to bring some clarity. Because once again, Rabbi Shaul or Paul has been labeled as a traitor. He's been labeled a liar. He's been labeled as an agent. He's been labeled so many things by so many people. And so it is important that we understand he had a way to deal with people, and the people that he was dealing with understood his conversation, and they understood the language that he was speaking. If you are not familiar with how to build a Fortune 500 company, or how to build or to live off grid, then me coming to you telling you you need water totes and you need this, that, and the other, and solar panels, you're going to be looking at me like, what? What are you talking about? We have running water. Why do we need solar panels? We are on a grid, that supplies us with electricity every month. Unless you're familiar with that, then it's going to seem like, I'm talking off the wall. But if you are familiar with this type of language, then you will understand where he's coming from. That's important for us to establish and understand. All right. Verse 20 says, therefore, by the Mahasa HaTorah, rabbinic customs, keep that in your heart and mind. Rabbi Shaul excuse me, or Paulus was coming against rabbinical customs. Rabbinical customs also had a set of laws. So when you read in the writings and he is coming against the law, he is not coming against the law of Abba Yahuwah that was given unto us by Moshe. He's coming against the law that was created by man, rabbinic customs. And it is so. Therefore shall no flesh be justified in his sight, for by the Torah is the knowledge of sin. Now understand, whenever you see two dots, that's colon, right? That's a colon. All right. Now that what is said after the colon is what helps establish and support that sentence. Now this is why he says this in the end. For by the Torah is the knowledge of sin. He's given an example. Now let's look at that footnote. The Mahese HaTorah were rabbinic works which were commanded by the rabbinic authorities to give one salvation. Rabbi Paulus was clear that by rabbinic laws, people cannot be saved. Just like if you look into the order or the structure of the Roman Catholic Church, where many times Christianity does not want to accept it, and many do, but just close their eyes to the fact, to the truth of the matter. That many things that many people try to disassociate themselves from the Roman Catholic Church, you have to understand the Roman Catholic Church is the mother of Christianity. Right. Are y'all following me? Yes. That's important for us to understand. Why is it important for us to understand? Because some of the things that they have put out there is truly, truly very important for us to understand that if you try to live this way, you will never be able to truly be in truth. Are y'all following me? You got people that are in there that are nuns. You got those that are in there call themselves the popes and all the rest of this crap. And the one thing that is so important for us to understand, that they separate mishpachah. Yeah. You have those that call themselves monks and all the rest of it. Well, not monks, but they call themselves priests. And priests, according to their certain standards, some of them cannot marry and have families, which goes against the first instruction that the Abba gave to the Hawa and Hadam, is to be fruitful and multiply. Are y'all following me? Yes. Now you have to understand, I just want to take a side very briefly. Inside of woman and inside of man is a desire to procreate. Listen to what I'm saying. Inside of every woman, regardless of if she acknowledges it or denies it, it is placed in us to desire family. Now you got to understand, now lesbians want families. It don't make it right, but it is in us to want families. Are you hearing me? And I'm not a lesbian by far. Please understand what I'm saying. Don't roll that way, period, because it's a sin and it's nasty and it's and the Abba abhors it. He hates it. But what I am saying, it is in us to want to have families. It is in us. It is in it. That's why when you see little girls and they have baby dolls, and if they don't have baby dolls, they will make dolls. They will create little things that they'll call around. It could be a blanket and nothing in it. Well, what's in that? Oh, that's my baby. Well, ain't no baby in it, but you have to understand it is put in us. Just like doctrine was put into us, this has been put into us by the Abba to want to be mothers. It is in us to want to be mothers. You know, I can't, you know, somebody will say, well, what's wrong with some of these women that don't want this? You got to look at the background. Maybe they were hurt. Maybe they were disappointed. Maybe they were broken to the point that this is something they don't want to get into. Now, I have a story to tell, but not at this time, where you don't want to have children. Are y'all following me? Yes. But it's important that we understand that this was put in us. It's put into the woman. It is put into the man. Even though many times a spirit of error and a spirit, are you following me, has taken over, has hijacked and taken over many of our brothers. I ain't talking about other cultures. I'm talking about our people. And made our people believe that it's all right, man with man and woman with woman. That goes against the instructions of the Abba. But what I am saying is that there is a problem here. And with that problem being there, this is what happens when instructions and when truth is not on the forefront. Are you hearing me? But it's in us to desire these things. And so you got to understand, Rabbi Shaul, his writings are meant to bring a desire for truth, not to push us away from truth. Are y'all following me? Yes. That's important for us to understand, because once again, many times folk have fought against him and made it as though he's created this new way of life, you know, and he's created this. No. And as I said, with Roman Catholicism, the Roman Church, you got to understand, they get their belief system and all this stuff from Constantine, and then from Constantine and then his son Constantinople or something like that. But you get, it's just a generation of error, and it continues to be perpetuated until that cycle is broken. And so as we read what Rabbi Shaul is saying, he is talking about the customs, that through these customs and these traditions, no man can be saved. And you have to understand, once again, customs can come in and destroy. Customs castrate. Customs to a man is called castration when he can't produce. For a woman, it is called hysterectomy. This is what and this is what happens once again when error is taken fully hold to. The enemy desires to castrate the men, and then he desires to cause women to have hysterectomies, to have that what causes you to produce to be taken out. So when these things are removed, it becomes impossible to what? Procreate. So what he is saying here, according to these rabbinical laws, people cannot be saved. No more than a man who has nothing, and no more than a woman that has nothing to produce with can bring forth also. Are y'all following?
Yes.
Now listen what he says. The only law that reveals sin is the Torah of Moshe. And so unless we obey it, how do we know what is sin or what is not? The Torah also points us to life if we are willing to listen and pay attention to the living Savior. Yahush can be found in the Torah. Key thing, listening and paying attention. When we can't do those two things, we won't learn. Listening and paying attention go hand in hand. If you meet a person that can't pay attention or won't listen, that person is not going to be willing to change.
Right.
Because they are set and they're not willing to hear anything other than that. From the church that I used to be a member of when I was in Christianity, and this person came and what they thought they was, doing some, trying to present me with scripture that they had no understanding about, and they came, at me like, you need to be corrected and you need to be ashamed because this, that, and the other. And I'm saying, no, if you just read what I gave to you to read and read it with a understanding, then you can understand my point. But when you have people that already have a guard up and they're already like, this the devil and I rebuke you and the blood of Jesus, and you start thinking, you're not paying attention to none of the scriptures and the right interpretation that has been given to you, because you still have that wall up where you are fighting against what you yourself have just read. So this is what the enemy has sought to do, and it's sad to say, but he has, in many instances, he's winning on that platform because people won't listen and they won't pay attention. You know, and that's a very, very dangerous place to be in. All right, let's look at verse 21. But now the righteousness of power apart from the human law is revealed, being witnessed by the Torah and the prophets. Now, once again, he makes a distinction here, apart from the human law. Now, let's look at that in the Christian. We're going to look at it in two different places, okay? That's verse 20 in chapter 3. All right. Chapter 3, verse 21, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, we got two places. I got another place. I'm going to read it. Let me pick it up in here. And this is why it's important that when we come into truth, that we have the right material. And we got to get it now because it's hard to find material that is going to support our way of life. All right, chapter 3, we're going to look at verse 21. All right, now we're going to read it. I'm going to read from three places, okay? All right, we're going to read it first from, this is the Thompson Chain Reference Bible. Chapter 3, verse 21. And it says, but now the righteousness, and I'm going to read it just as it says, of God without the law is manifested, being witnessed by the law and the prophets, even the righteousness which is by faith of Jesus Christ unto all and upon all them that believe, for there is no differences. All right, now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to read it out of the Netzarim. I'm going to read chapter 3, verse 21, all the way to verse 22, because it's supposed to be one verse. Okay, let's see, I read it to yeah, verse 22. All right. But now apart from the Torah, a justice of Yahuwah has been revealed, being witnessed by the Torah and the prophets. And the righteousness of Yahuwah is through belief in Yahushua Mashiach to all and on all who believe, for there is no difference. Now, it continues on, but I wanted to stop there. Now, I'm going to read it to you from the Abrahamic Covenant version, Romaniah chapter 3. Okay? Now, chapter 3. All right, now I'm going to read it to you from the Abrahamic Covenant writings, verse 21 to 22. But now the righteousness of power apart from the human law is revealed, being witnessed by the Torah and the prophets, even the righteousness of power, which is by belief of Yahushua, the Messiah, or the Mashiach, to all of them that believe, for there is no difference. Now you see how different those three same verses read differently?
Yeah.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Now, this is where issues come about. Why would I say issues come about? Because if you're getting three different interpretations, which one of them is right? Which one of them is right and which of the others are wrong? This is important to understand because whenever you are deciphering or you are going in and you are rightly dividing and you're picking apart and you're trying to establish what is taking place, or even just trying to pick through the conversation to understand what is being conveyed, it is important that you have the right information and you have the right tools to define or to decipher what is being said. Now, once again, law, he's talking about human law. Human law. If you don't decipher that and you don't take away certain things, then you'll believe that he's talking against the Torah. You'll believe that. I made an example. It's just like a isha and an ish. If you come in the conversation in between and you don't know what's going on and you don't know the language that's being spoken, you would really believe that there's some really rough stuff going on between them if you didn't know who they were in the conversation. The wording, the language of the conversation. You would really think, oh, those people really are nuts because of what they're saying and how they're saying it to each other. But once again, it's important to understand language. Are you hearing me? This is not talking about going in, not yet, and breaking it up into Hebrew. We're just looking at it from the English standpoint. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Yes, that is important to understand it from the Hebrew, but right now we're dealing with the English. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All right. Now listen what it says, apart from human law. Now let's look at what that is telling us. I'm going to read a bit. He is contrasting between human laws, the Greek term nomos, versus the Greek term nomos, Torah laws. The confusion comes from when translators translated both words to Torah, as that is not what Paul compares, and that is true, because you have to understand, nomos just means general laws. We don't just have general instructions or a general doctrine that anybody and everybody can just pick it up and run with it without modifying it. When you modify something, it means that the original cannot fit your agenda because you don't fit the original. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
That's important. And so with that being said, it is truly important that we understand, once again, you cannot modify this. You cannot modify, because if you modify it, you're going to mess it up.
Right.
That's important to understand. All right, now let's finish reading. Now, once again, the confusion comes in, once again, by what? Translators. I read it from 1, 2, 3 different writings, and each one of the writings is worded very different. Are you following me? Very differently. It's worded very differently. That's important to understand. If you don't compare and you don't sit down and look and say, okay, where's the problem coming in here? Because these are reading almost synonymously, because they sound just alike, without that other reading showing that, wait, we got to find out what is the denominator in this that makes it either the same or different. You got to go in. So we find that original or close to the original that tells us he's not talking about the instructions of Abba Yahuwah. He is talking about man-made laws or human laws. Comes from the translators. You cannot reject Torah and accept Mashiach. That is a contradiction. When he came to teach Torah, the only thing you have to reject is human laws. The rabbinic government, who set a different standard for salvation apart from Yahuwah's Torah, is in view. This is why he was so adamant about pushing this, because he understood that those that would get a hold of it would actually turn to it instead of truth. Just like so many people, our people that walk in Christianity and will fight you tooth and nail. The law has been done away with. The law, you start thinking, can you explain to me what are the laws of the Abba? No, let's really look at what this really is. It's not a law, it's his doctrine, teaching, and his instructions. So until you understand that is what they are saying has been done away with, you're standing up there trying to rebuttal something you don't even understand the root of it. And the translators want to make sure that we, as the true people, would never come to an understanding. But thanks be unto Abba Yahuwah through Yahushua Mashiach to show us the way of truth and to show us the real light unto our salvation. And that is the Mashiach. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All right. Now, even the righteousness of power, which is by belief of Yahush, the Mashiach, to all and them that believe, for there is no difference. For all have sinned and fall short of the power of, or the beauty of power, meaning Abba Yahuwah. Now, this is a lot. I'm going to read as much of it as I can. He does not speak in isolation and create a new doctrine, but echoes the words of Ecclesiastes 7 and 20. There are similar words echoed by the prophet Daniel 9 and 11. All Yasharal have sinned. Even in Yahush 7 and 11, Shoftim, which is Judges 10 and 10, Tehillim 53 and 3. Let's get Ecclesiastes 7 and 20. Someone get me Daniel 9 and 11. Someone get me Yahush 7 and 11. And Shoftim 10 and 10. And we're going to look at the word. Well, you have it saying it is so. Mm-hmm. 7 and 20. 9 and 11. Ecclesiastes 7:20. Daniel 9 and 11, and Yahush 7 and 11, and Shoftim, which is Judges 10 and 10, and Tehillim 53 and 3. Okay. All right, what you have for me? All right, read that for me.
Joshua has sinned. They have violated my covenant that I appointed for them. They have taken some of what was set apart. They have stolen, deceived, and put the things with their own belongings.
And it is so. Once again, he is speaking of Yahshua all sinning. Are you hearing me? All right. And I truly have this because it's letting us know the word all here is descriptive for Yahshua, not meaning all punishment on a people that's not supposed to have it. So if you pin the punishment, then you have to also give credence for the reward of coming or turning away. Are you following what I'm saying? So we can't give people that leverage, because if you tell them you're going to be whipped, then you also have to tell them now you're going to be esteemed because you're not walking in that anymore. So we can't do that. That's very important that we not. All right, let's look at Yahush, the son of Nun, 7 and 11. You read that one already? Okay, I'm sorry. Let's look at Shoftim 10 and 10. 7 and 11. I mean 7 and 20. I'm sorry. Jonathan read that one, didn't you? No.
7 and
20. Read that for me. And then let's get Shoftim, which is Judges.
Ecclesiastes 7
Mm-hmm.
and 23. For there is not a just man upon earth that doeth great and sinneth not. And it is so.
And it is so. Now talking about once again the state of Yahshua. All right, let's go to Shoftim 10 and 10, which is Judges. All right.
Shoftim. Then the Israelites cried out to Yahuwah, "We have sinned against you, forsaking our power and serving Baal." And it is so.
And it is so. All right. Now we're going to Tehillim 53 and 3, and it reads, all right. They have all turned aside. They have together become filthy. No one is doing good, not even one. So once again, this is making reference to Yahshua. So the purpose of me reading chapter 3, verses 20 to 27 is to establish that what is being said in chapters 5 and in chapter 6. And it is so. And it is so. All right, now let's look at what he's saying. Okay, read a little bit more of this. Now he actually quotes verbatim from Tehillim 14 and 3, where the sin is not applied to the whole of mankind, but a generalization is made that at one time or another people do sin. This does not mean that when the psalmist said there was none righteous in the land of Yahshua, the Torah is not applied to people like this. Each sin has different punishments. Okay, now he goes on to say this. Christianity. Okay. Can we say a baby of 2 years is a sinner and going to hell? The answer is no, since the baby does have what we know is the evil inclination, the ability to be able to sin, but power is not going to throw a baby into hell because he or she was born a sinner. Unfortunately, this is how many Christendom have run away with errant teachings. Okay, this is and I see to a degree what he is saying. If a child is born, now let's establish this, in an upright home, then that child at 2 years of age is going to know Torah truth.
Mm-hmm.
But if that child is born in an evil house and that child practices witchcraft, or that child is taught how to practice these things, then let's put things in perspective. Then that child is going to die and go to hell because that child no longer is innocent, but exposed to the diabolical plans and way of through teachings. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
That's important for us to understand, because once again, children learn by what we allow them to either be exposed to or to what we teach them.
Con.
Okay. So even with that, we can't excuse them because of age. Because I know some 2-year-olds that I have seen that can cuss like a sailor. Not only that, their attitude, they can twerk, they can bump and grind. And you're thinking, what in the world is this? Let me tell you something. The writings tell us, born into sin and shapen into iniquity. So we know that when a child is born into this world and they're born into sin, then that means we have the ability to reshape their lives through Torah truth. The only way that happens is that we have to be the guidance to them and teach them right from wrong. If you do not, then you cannot just say because a child is 2 years old that they won't expire and end up going to hell. The reason they will go is because of what? Transgression of his instructions. Because remember, many died, even children died because of their disobedience. So that's important to understand. We can never set age as a precedent for why a person will not be going. Now, you can't take a child. No, I won't even say you can't. Because remember, when the flood came, do you believe there were any babies there? When the flood came, they were given in marriage and what? Drinking and merrymaking and all the rest of that. So that means children were being born. That means they were not innocent by age. They were guilty by association and by birth.
That's right.
Are y'all hearing me? Because their parents, they wasn't doing right, so they wasn't going to teach them right. So that's important for us to understand. I agree to disagree with what he has said. And the reason I say that is because you cannot put an age on it. Because when you do that, now you begin to what is the word? You begin to show a partiality because of a person's age and not because of their understanding. You have 2-year-olds that can read perfectly well and spell. Are you following me? So it's important that we understand that. Now, once again, the point to draw from this is that it is not talking about everybody, just Yasharo. That's the reason for this. All right, now, let's look at this. And now, verse 26, to declare, I say at this time, his righteousness, that he might be just, and the justifier of him which believes in Yahush. Wherefore, where is boasting then? Excuse me. It is excluded by what human law? That's a question. Of works? No, but by the Torah of belief. That is what is being brought forth. Here we see Paul is showing both laws side by side, the human law that cannot save us and is futile, but the Torah belief that only saves us, but reveals the Mashiach, our master. Not only saves, listen at this, not only saves us, but reveals the Mashiach unto us. That is important. When I first came into truth, the mindset that I began to read different things. And one of the things I had to go back and correct was that the Torah cannot save you. It can only basically justify you, which is wrong. You have to understand, because Yahush is the Torah made flesh, then yes, the Torah can save, and it can show you truly who the Mashiach is.
That's right.
When we remove, once again, concepts and mindsets of what we believe is truth and really get into the writings and read and find ourselves really following in this, then we'll be able to put away a whole lot of stuff that the enemy is trying to make us hold on that is nonsense. Are y'all following me? If we reject the Torah, we reject Yahush. If we reject Yahush, we reject the Torah. They're one and what? The same. So you can't reject them. You have to hold on to them. Are y'all following me? Very important for us to understand. All right, now let us turn our attention to Romans chapter 5. We're going to get into a little bit of it onto Layla. Now, to bring us up to speed, what is he talking about? Why is he making it in this matter? It's important that we understand, because so many have taken and misconstrued and have misinterpreted the writings. And the bad thing of it is that many people have gotten this writing and have gotten this interpretation rooted into their ruach. So now when you begin to talk to people and you try to tell them, no, take a look again. I ain't looking at that. That's just a bunch of mess. The first thing they go off and want to be trying to rebuke you saying it's the devil. And you start thinking, no, the way you're living and what you are doing is the devil, you know? And so we want to look at it. Once again, let's 5 and let's read. I believe it is 21 verses. Let's read 4 verses apiece. Starting at verse 1.
Therefore, being justified by belief, we have shalom with power through our Master Yahushua Mashiach, by whom also we have access by belief into this esteem wherein we stand, and rejoice in the hope of the esteem of power of Yahuwah. And not only so, but we also esteem in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation works patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. And it is so.
And it is so. Let's read to 5 because that finishes out that whole statement.
And hope makes not ashamed, because the ahab of Yahuwah is poured out in our hearts by the Ruach HaKodesh, which is given to us.
And it is so. All right, now I'm going to read to you from another rendering, which is the Netzarim. And it says, therefore, having been declared right by belief. Belief in what? Belief in the Torah. So you can't let that stand alone. Like if someone says, go over there, and they're talking to you. Well, you understood, that is understood you in the English grammar. When you're talking, and you say, go over there and fetch me this, especially if it's directed to you, that means you are the one that's being spoken to. Okay, so it's the same here. Therefore, having been declared right by belief in what? In the Torah, we have shalom with Yahuwah through our Mashiach, through whom also we have access by belief into this esteem in which we stand, and we exult in the expectation of the esteem of Yahuwah. So once again, we're getting a full fleshed out understanding that our belief in Abba Yahuwah through the Torah gives us shalom through Yahushua. You cannot subtract him out of the equation. When you do, you're going to have an incomplete problem. Are you following me? And people trying to put everything in there, and it's not working out right. You can't take him out of it. All right, now, verse 3. And not only this, but we also exult in pressure. Now, look, I'm reading that because in here, that word is also used in many renderings as glory. We don't use the word glory, but we exult in pressure, knowing that pressure works endurance. Now, in this rendering, it says, excuse me, hope. But you got to understand, belief is another rendering, or hope is another rendering of belief, or belief is another rendering that you're hoping in something. It's our endurance, knowing that pressure works endurance. Whenever a stone is being molded or shaped or being created, it is the what? Pressure that gives it what? Not only its shape, but its endurance. So it's important that we understand that when we are in pressure, it brings about endurance. So if you're going through something, just know it is to cause you to endure and to hold on to your belief. Your belief in what? In the Torah. Are y'all following? Very important for us to understand that. All right. Excuse me. Now listen at this. And endurance, approvedness. And approvedness, expectation. Which once again, in certain renderings, it says hope. But my expectation and my belief in the Torah is what constantly keeps me moving forward, in spite of what? Watch this. Certain trials I may find myself falling into, certain tribulations I may find myself going through. It is important that we understand that. Why is it important that we understand that? So that we don't defect from this way and find our expectation in something else or someone else. Are you following me? It's important. All right, let's read 5. Let's read 5 to 9.
Nehemiah chapter 5, verses 5 and 9.
Mhm.
And it reads, and expectation does not disappoint, because the ahab of power has been poured out in our hearts by the Ruach HaKodesh, which was given to us. For when we were still weak, Hamashiach in due time died for the wicked.
Mhm.
For one shall hardly die for a righteous one, though possibly for a good one, someone would even have the courage to die. But power proves his own ahab for us, in that while we were still sinners, Yahushua HaMashiach died for us. Much more then, having now been declared right by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him.
And it is so. Now, once again, let's look at this. But Yahuwah proves his own ahab for us, in that while we were yet, or while we were still sinners, Mashiach died for us. Now, you have to understand the importance of that. He knew that we were still a wicked, not willing to change people, and some of us still are. But he was still willing to offer up, or allow his son to be offered up in exchange for our redemption and life. That's real ahab. See, many times, and I said before, I'm not a problematic teacher or preacher, but I do call it as I see it. The problem with a lot of us is that we don't see the nature and the true heart of Abba Yahuwah.
That's right.
We don't. We are so geared on certain things that we don't look, at certain things. So the first thing we look at is we know he is a killer. We know he's a judge, but we also know him to be an Abba.
Right.
We know him to chastise. We know him to give chance after chance after chance. So it's in order, and you will never be able to know the true nature of Abba Yahuwah in a book. It's amazing. We think we know him based upon one book. You got people out there, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, who is I want to say? Maya, what is it? Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou. What's her name again? Maya Angelou. Okay, I said a little too fast. I enjoy her writings. But you have these people that are not normal, but exceptional people. And it takes more than one book for us to get to know who they were. But we tend to believe that the Abba is encompassed in this right here. Everything. No, this just gives us an outline of who he is. Yes, we are to believe it completely and wholeheartedly with everything in us. But we're also to be open and have room for him to share things with us and to show us things. Are y'all following me? Now, with that being said, I have to put this out here. Don't just go chasing everything that says Yahuwah or Yahweh on it.
That's right.
Are y'all following me? Because you got a lot of stuff out there. You look at it and you start thinking, yeah, hear that, but that don't mean he is in there. That you have to really be careful with that. That's how many times many people get deceived, because they see a name on it and they think this is it, and now you hook, line, and sinker to something that is not valid or supportive of who he is. Okay. All right. Now, it's important that we understand that. Now, for a wicked man, let's look at that. In Aramaic, the reading is for a wicked, not righteous. The problem occurred when the translators got the two words mixed up. Rashi for wicked versus Rashiana for blameless. The parallel is with the next verse, which shows Mashiach died for us while we were sinners. And that is the contrast of this passage. So once again, it is very important that we understand these things.
Right.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important, because it does seem like a contradictory. For a wicked man, will one hardly die? Yet perhaps for a good one, someone might consider to die. Then it turns around and says, but power demonstrating his ahab for us while we were still sinners. He did this. So it is important that we understand once again to read and ask the Abba to give us the fleshed out truth of what's being said and pay attention to what's being said. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
All right, let's look at them. Verse 9. Much more than being now justified by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. So the only way to be saved through wrath, or to be saved from wrath, is through who? Through Yahushua. It's just like a storm. Unless you're in a shelter, to protect you from the storm. Nothing. That's important for us to understand. Once again, let no man beguile you out of the richness and the greatness of this gift that has been given unto us. We were robbed already so many times. Let us not be robbed again. All right, let's read. Let's read verse 10 to 15.
Maya chapter 5, verse 10 to 15. Much more, having been restored to favor, we shall be saved by his life. And not only this, but we also exult in Yahuwah through our sovereign Yahushua Mashiach, through whom we have now received the restoration to favor. For this reason, even as through one man's sin did enter into the world, and death through sin, and thus death spread to all men, because all sinned. For until the Torah, sin was in the world, but sin is reckoned when there is no Torah. But death reigned from Adam until Moshe, even over those who had not sinned according to the likeness of the transgression, who is a type of him who was to come. He said 15. But the favorable gift is not like the trespass. For if by the one man's trespass many died, much more the favor of Yahuwah of the one man, Yahushua Mashiach, overflowed to many. And it is so.
And it is so. Once again, looking at the writings and looking at what is being conveyed here. Now, once again, let's look at verse 10. For if when we were enemies, we were reconciled to power by the death of his son, much more being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life. Once again, we have to understand that he ahabs us. Without that, then we don't have anything to stand on. And now look, verse 11, and not only so, but we also joy in power through our master Yahushua, the Mashiach, by whom we have now received the atonement. Remember, sacrifices were to do what? Atone for the people's sins. That's what the Mashiach has done for us. This is why you cannot remove him from the equation. If we remove him from the equation, we will find ourselves being a ship without a sail. We will be like a ship without a helm. We will be like a car without a steering wheel. You can be in and moving, but you will not be able to control where you're going. You will just be everywhere, wherever the wheels or wherever the road takes you. That's where you'll go. It is so important that we be careful of how and what we accept. Wherefore, as by one man's sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for all have sinned. What men? The men, the children of Yasharal. Remember, because you cannot reject or you cannot lose what was never given to you. You cannot break something if you never had to hold it. Now hear me. You can never break it. If I didn't give you the vase to hold, then you can't break it. If I gave you the bracelet, or I gave you the crystal vase, and I said, hold on to this, and you drop it or you lose it or you give it away, then it's for you to go back and grab it. It's for you to go back and recapture it and get it. So if I didn't give it to you, then you have no worries, because you can't give me something was never given to you to give back to me. Are y'all following me? Very important. Now look at this, jumping down to verse 15. But not as the offense, so also is the free gift. For if through the offense of one many be dead, much more the esteem of power and the gift of esteem, which is by one man, Yahushua the Mashiach, has been abounded to many. Remember, the many meaning who? The children of Yasharal. That's who it is, who is being referred to. And that is what is so important here. Many times we don't believe that something can be given unto us as a people and be strictly for us, because this is the way we were brought up. We were made to believe that, we could never have our own. We got to always share. We can't never have our own community. We can't never have our own designs. We can't have our own label. We can't have our own branding. We can't have these things. We always got to share and invite everybody else in. But this is for us. This is for us. We didn't create it. He created us for it. Are you hearing me? It was already established in Shemayim, in heaven. But he created us as a people to follow his instructions. That's how much he ahabs us, because he chose us. If you look in Devarim chapter 7 and verse 7, we are a treasured people unto him. That is important for you to understand. And whenever you have a treasure, you're going to do everything you can to keep it, to hold it, to make sure it's strong. That's important for us to understand. Are you hearing me? Very important for us to understand. And to not let that go. Like I said, many of us are going through different things, different challenging situations. But in the midst of that, we must remember whose we are and our purpose here and what it took to get us where we are. Yes, sure, we may have lost a few things, but the bottom line, we didn't lose our belief in the Mashiach. We have not lost that. Neither have we given up on this way. That is so important. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important. Very important. All right, let's start with verse 16 and let's read to 20.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Romans chapter 5, verse 16. Again, the gift of Yahuwah is not like the result of the one man's sin.
Mm-hmm.
The judgment followed one sin and brought condemnation, but the gift followed many trespasses and brought justification. For if by the trespass of the one man, death resigned through that one man, how much more will those who receive Yahuwah's abundant provision of mercy and of the gift of righteousness reign in life through the one man, Yahushua Mashiach?
Mm-hmm.
Consequently, just as the result of one trespass was condemnation for all men, so also the result of one act of righteousness was justification that brings life for all men. For just as through disobedience of one man, so were the through one man, the many were made sinners. So also through the obedience of one man, the many will be made righteous. The law was added so that trespasses might increase. For where sin increased, mercy increased all the more. And it is so.
And it is so. Go ahead and read verse 21 too.
Verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
So that just as sin reigned to death, so also mercy might reign through righteousness to bring eternal life through Yahushua Mashiach, our Savior. And it is so.
And it is so. Very important. Now, therefore, by the offense of one, judgment came. Who was that one? Hadam, upon all men to condemnation. What all men? The men of Yahshua. Even so, by the righteousness of one, the free gift came upon all men to justification of life, meaning the children of Yahshua or the men of Yahshua. This is so important because until we can grip and grab a hold on to what belongs to us and hold it and guard it like it belongs to us, you trying to invite other people to a party that you have not even accepted as your own party.
No, that's right.
You follow what I'm saying? It is important that we understand that. It is so important that we hold on and not let that go, because so many times, once again, we're ready to forfeit or give up what belongs to us. Now, once again, why? Because the enemy's waiting right there for tragedy to strike. He's waiting for something to happen so that we'll begin to question our way of life. Well, if that's the case, then why does this happen after we've been praying, don't let this happen. We've been asking, please don't let us fall into this. We've been asking, don't let these things come upon us. And they do. What happens? Once again, you got to understand that pressure causes endurance. What kind of endurance? To endure our belief in the Mashiach, who is the sent one from the Abba. So it is important that we understand that. When we come to understand that, it's important that we, once again, hold fast to it and not let it go. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Very important for us to understand that. All right. Let's see. Do we have time? Yes, we have time for chapter 6. Let's get chapter 6 in. Let's get that in. It is 23 verses. Let's do 4 again. Let's do 4 again. And it is so. You gave us your own. All right. Let's begin over on this side, chapter 6. Okay, come on. Begin at verse 1, and let's read four verses.
What should we say then? Should we continue in sin so that grace may multiply? Absolutely not.
Go ahead.
How can we who died to sin still live in it? Or are you unaware that all of us who were baptized into Yahushua were baptized into his death? Therefore, we were buried with him by baptism into death, in order that just as Mashiach was raised from the dead by the esteem of the Abba, so we too may walk in a new way of life. And it is so.
And it is so. All right, let's look at this. What shall we say then? He's asking a question. Shall we continue in sin? What is sin? The transgression of the instructions and the doctrine of Abba Yahuwah, that esteem may abound. He's asking a question again. Power forbid, how shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? He just answered the question. That's not a question that's just out there. He just answered the question. He said, Abba Yahuwah forbid. He said, how are we that are dead to sin, the transgression or dead to the transgression, listen to this, of his instructions? We don't transgress his instructions anymore. So if we don't live no longer in what? Sin. Because we're no longer transgressing or going against his instructions that he's given unto us as a people. Are you following me? Now, let me say this. As simple as that may sound to so many people, that is so hard for many people to grab that concept. Because you got to remember, because of everything that has been plastered on with this way of life, you're thinking, well, if I do this, I'm a sinner. No. What is the transgression of his instructions? Sin. What instructions did he give to us? He gave us the 10 commandments. And in those 10 commandments, along with everything else that's set up in these writings, are you following me?
Sure.
If we live by it, and it's not hard to. It's really not hard to. What makes it difficult to live by these instructions when you have a dualistic mindset. I want to do my own thing, but I want to obey him too. Many times, let me share this with you, and I could be wrong, but this is my synopsis on it. Many times people struggle with living according to this way because they don't want to give up them Saturdays.
Okay.
They don't want to give up their Sabbath rest. I mean, they don't want to give up Saturdays to go and do their thing. They rest. I need to work because, if you work on the weekend, that's overtime, right? People don't do that. And then if it's not that, you have car washes. You have people going to the mall, people going shopping. So they ain't, and pork, and pork. And then they don't want to keep the feast, but you'll celebrate Christmas. But you'll celebrate but you celebrate Easter with no problem because you feel like it's nothing wrong. But then to celebrate this, is you call it an infringement upon your freedom. Keeping the feast costs you nothing but your time and your obedience.
Right.
Celebrating Christmas costs you thousands and thousands of dollars because you're trying to keep up with people by buying them presents. When we were in Christianity, we spent $2,000 and more when we were in Christianity because we wanted our children and the people that we knew and to be happy. So we would get started in October and sometime the year before buying Christmas gifts. So by the time Christmas came around, we had so many presents, but the money that we was investing in that's not even investment, that's spending.
Yeah.
Because by the time we got through, we had nothing to show for it. Investment says, no, I'm a benefit from this.
Right.
Investment means buying property. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Buying gold, buying silver. That's investment. Because you're going to reap from that. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Another investment, buying panels. Solar panels. Because you're investing in you and your future. This is investment and not spending because you have something to show for it. But we get in that rat race and you spending all them thousands and thousands of dollars and then come the beginning of the year according to the Gregorian calendar, You coming in already in debt, already in a deficit.
That's right.
Because you're trying to keep up with somebody. And the people that have the money ain't spending that money. They go buy them ugly socks. Really, they go buy them ugly shirts for a little enough. They give you a gift and they think they've done something and come to your Christmas party and drink up all your stuff and they think they've done something. They go buy a toenail, what is that, groom stuff to groom your feet, pedicure sets. They go buy all those kind of things. But when it comes down to it, we're the ones always trying to prove a point. When we were in Christianity, oh, we got it like that, and we didn't have it like that. They go buy them little things. They go buy bookmarks for $2 and go buy these little things. You start thinking, wait, hold up, pump the brakes. And go get the little cards. What is it? The Starbucks card to go get some coffee for about $10. And you're thinking, wow, you got all this money, but they're investors, not spenders. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
So while we were spending money, they were investing money. So it's important that we understand that. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
Now, once again, it's important that we see this. Now, he says, do you not know that so many of us, as were immersed into Yahush, the Mashiach, were immersed into his death? Meaning, once again, we were baptized in the name of Yahush or Yahuwah. Now, when it says into his death, he didn't stay there. He came a what? Live. He was resurrected to a what? New man. So the old man dies, but a new man is arisen. Risen in truth, risen in a whole different mindset, a whole different perception of life. See, because when Yahush, after his resurrection, he didn't stop working and doing. He continued even harder in what he was called to do. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
He continued to work the work that the Abba had sent him to do. So it's important that we understand and see. He didn't stop there. He continued to move forward. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Therefore, we are buried with him by immersion into death, that like as Mashiach was raised up from the dead by the Abba, even so we also should walk in newness of what? Life. What is the newness of life? Newness of life means keeping the feast, keeping the Shabbat, which is the Moed, keeping it the right way. These are the things that constitute as a new life. Are you hearing me? Not your skin glowing. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Seriously, not your skin glowing, not you losing weight or putting on a few pounds or what have you, but new life, or you changing your dietary weight. And understand what I mean by this, because we do change our dietary law, change to according to the dietary law, meaning that we don't eat certain meats, we don't eat, and even certain vegetables you got to be careful of, and fruit, because all things are not kosher. You got to understand that thing called a plum, or what is it, kumquat? What is a plum? That thing that's a plum, and it's a pluot. Thank you, pluot. Pluots. That's it's a plum and a apricot. Thank you. I'm thinking kumquat. Apricot. That's the mixing of two fruit. So now you don't have a pure fruit. You have a hybrid. Thank you. A hybrid. So you don't eat that. Then iceberg lettuce is not good for you. Too much spinach is not good for you. Too much broccoli, too much of anything is not good for you. You have to have a balance. And so we sometimes tend to believe that this is a new way of life. Understand, we are supposed to change our dietary way. We're not supposed to eat pork. We're not supposed to eat meat with blood in it. We're not supposed to eat all that stuff. And there's some things you shouldn't eat. You should only eat grain-fed beef, and you should only eat organic chicken that doesn't have a whole lot of stuff in it, which you ain't gonna have a whole lot of stuff in it if you buy it in the right place. Or you grow them, or you not grow them, you raise them yourself. You raise them yourself. But these are things that we need to be looking into. Why? Because it's important. But the main thing that is being spoken of here, when it's new way of life, is that we don't do the things we used to do. Keep celebrate the holidays that many that are not in truth celebrate. And I pray if you are in truth that you do not celebrate Christmas. You do not celebrate Thanksgiving. You do not celebrate Halloween. You do not celebrate what is called the New Year. You do not celebrate these things because these things are not for us. Are you following me? So newness of life also means that now what we used to crave, we don't crave anymore. We only crave the things that are suitable for us as a people. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand. All right, verse 5, for if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his what? Resurrection. So that means we are resurrected into a new life. We are resurrected as a new soul. We are new. But that concept cannot take hold if when you are brought forth, you don't walk and do what he did. Now, some things you got to understand. In this resurrected life, we can't go back to doing what we used to do. Because if you go back to doing what you used to do, you're going to die. Are you following me?
Yes.
Resurrected, and if you are dead, that old man should not, no matter under any circumstances, should ever be able to be resurrected. Because that what gave that person life is no longer supposed to be a part of your life. Are y'all following me? That person is dead. So that's not supposed to even be an issue. Because something that is dead has no feelings, no thoughts, no desires. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
I have no desire to eat pork. I have no desire to eat shrimp or crab. I was a crab eater from way back when. Never had lobster, but crab, boy, I could knock down about 5 or 6 pounds of crab.
Okay.
And especially when I was pregnant. And shrimp, I'd eat all that mess. But I don't have a desire. Catfish was my main fish. I don't have a desire for those things. Are you hearing me? None whatsoever. I don't. So it's important that we understand that new man brings about a new desire. I desire to celebrate and be a part of the feast. I desire to keep the Sabbath day or the Sabbath yom. I desire to do that. When at one time I was like, Saturday, child, no, we got work to do. We got to be trying to make some money. We got to get out of here and get in the hustle and bustle. I don't want that anymore. Are you following me?
Yes.
That's what is important. Now, it's important that we understand, once again, resurrection, the likeness. It says the likeness, so that don't mean that you're going to physically die and come back. It means in the likeness, as he died, so.
For he that is dead is free from sin.
Mhm.
Now, if we be dead with Hamashiach, we believe that we shall also live with him, knowing that Hamashiach, being raised from the dead, dieth more. Death hath no more dominion over him. For in that he died unto sin once, but in that he liveth and liveth unto Yahuwah. And it is so.
And it is so. Thing we live unto who? Unto Yahuwah. Yahush never said, live unto me. He said, in through his life living, everything was directed towards Yahuwah. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
We're alive and we are not dead because we live unto Yahuwah through Yahush. He is our example. Without him, what example do we have? We have no examples at all whatsoever. We don't serve sin anymore because it's no desire in there to do so. Now, once again, verse 10, for in that he died to sin once, but in that he lives to power. And so do we. We live unto our Yahuwah. And it is so. Allah Yahuwah. All right, 11 to 15.
Chapter 6, verse 11 to 16.
Mhm.
So you also reckon yourselves to be dead indeed to sin, but alive to power in Mashiach Yahush, our master.
Mhm.
Therefore do not let sin reign in your mortal in its desires.
Mhm.
Neither present your members as instruments of unrighteousness to sin, but present yourselves to power as being alive from the dead,
Mhm.
and your members as instruments of righteousness to power. For sin shall not rule over you. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under Torah, but under favor? Let it not be. Do you not know that to whom you present yourselves servants for your obedience, you are servants of the one, whether of sin to death or of obedience to righteousness?
And it is so.
And it is so. Once again, very important for us to understand. Now, for sin, let's look at this. Verse 13, neither yield your members as instruments of unrighteousness to sin, but present yourselves to power as those that are alive from the dead. You present yourself alive as from the dead. Now you gotta remember, you can't look at the walking dead, because the walking dead, people that are walking dead present themselves as what? Dead people. And if you notice something about the walking dead, dead people, all they want to do is eat up people that are alive. Because dead things are dead, especially when you come from the concept of the Walking Dead, the TV series, is that all the dead things want to do is eat those that are alive. And you have to understand, when you deal with people that have a dead mentality, they're just dead. All they want to do is kill your ruach. They want to kill everything that you're trying to do that promotes life. You don't want to be around people like that. That's a no-no. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
That you don't want to be around people like that. Because once you are alive, you need to know how to present yourself as one who's been resurrected. Are y'all following me? That means that I got to go say, hey, I'm alive now. What do people in truth alive do? It's a sad thing. Many people come alive into this truth and they still run after dead things. They still run after false instructions. Are you following me? We can't do that. Now listen what he says in verse 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under the human law. It says in some renderings Torah. But the right rendering is the human law, but under esteem. What human law? Rabbinical customs. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Rabbinical customs. See, in the interpretation, once again, because of the way it was interpreted, you would believe that he is telling you that for sin shall have no more dominion over you, for you are not under the Torah, but under grace in some renderings, right?
Yeah.
Well, just read it again for me. Verse 14. Under grace. Read that again. Verse 14, chapter 6.
For sin shall not rule over you, for you are not under the law, but under favor.
Now, some renderings, it says grace. Even some would dare to say that means the penalty prescribed by the law is death. But if I'm no longer living in sin, then I'm not going to die because I'm living in truth. And you can't apply that. Are y'all following me? Let's look at what is really being sought here. Human law, rabbinical law. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under human law, but under esteem. Now listen at this. And it didn't say grace, it said esteem. This has nothing to do with the Torah of Yahuwah, but is about the term under law, meaning under Pharisaic law, which dictated you had to observe thousands of commandments before the Pharisees and Sadducees will qualify you as saved and part of the community of Yahshua. But Paul has reiterated the point that we are under mercy to the community of Yahshua, followed by the rest of things. Salvation was always by mercy, and so the coming of Mashiach had rendered the hypocrisy of the Pharisaical system as burdensome and a heavy yoke for the people to carry. Hence why Peter refers to this yoke too heavy to bear in Acts 15:10. Let's go there. All right. Let's read that, please.
Acts 15:10 reads. Now therefore, why tempt ye Yahuwah to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? And
Read that again for me. I'm sorry. Read that again.
Now therefore, why tempt ye power to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear, and it is so.
And it is so. All right, now, if you read, once again, that's 15 and 10. And if we read, that's a question, verse 16 is 11, I'm sorry. But through the esteem of the Mashiach, we trust to be delivered in the same way as they. Are you hearing me? Once again, understanding rabbinical traditions or customs versus the instructions that the Abba has given us. If you don't understand and you are not careful, you will find yourself over in those rabbinical customs, trying to live according to truth, and it don't work. That's trying to put a size 10 in a size 7. That's trying to put a size 10 or 2 in a size 12. It's not going to work. That's not going to fit. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
So once again, important that we understand that they were adding all of these things to make it right. Now, let me show you something. When we first came into truth, searching and seeking out and prayer and then information, grabbing information. When we first began to keep the Sabbath, there are some communities and it was the Ashkenazi community that when we first got into, the different literature and stuff, I still read some of their literature because it's important to understand what their views are. Many of them lean towards rabbinical customs. At the time, I didn't know, but I thank Abba Yahuwah for prayer, and I thank him for a desire to know truth, because the more you desire, the more he is able to impart into you. And so we would come in the building where we celebrate truth or the Sabbath, we have no windows. There's certain parts, windows are in certain places. And so according to them, you were not supposed to have anything on that was electrical, no lights, no anything. So you have to understand how challenging that was for us coming into truth, because we're told you can't turn lights on, you can't turn them off. That was according to the law. Are you hearing me? You couldn't do any of those things. We had to make sure we did the prayer before we went in, and we had to have a candle. What was the candle? The Havdalah candle, to where we would light, and the women would have to pray, but we'd have to have our eyes covered. And we'd have to recite it, and we'd have to do it before the sun went down. If we did, we couldn't do it. And if we did after that time, we would be cursed. Can you imagine the burden of that in the beginning? And then we trying to run around in here and get stuff done, and it is dark as Hades up in here without no lights. And so, and I began to ask the Abba, if this is freedom and we're supposed to be celebrating the Sabbath, and it's going to be a time of celebration, then why does it feel like this is more of a job than truly a celebration? Right. And the more I began to study, the more I began to pray, the more he began to reveal to me this. I never said for you to do it like this. And the moment he began to reveal that to me, the moment I began to tear that custom down and not follow that custom, because it was really very challenging. Very challenging, because you're trying to get things done, and you're trying to walk around a place where you can't have lights, and then we wouldn't even have them in the bathroom. And I said, no, wisdom got to play in this. We got to have a couple of lights on here, because we'll be walking around here knocking each other out, running at each other. We cannot do this. Right. But you have to understand, these customs prey on the innocent and the weak. Somebody say, why would you say that? Why? Because if you follow after that custom, you are not complying to Abba Yahuwah, because how can you have a Sabbath rest when you can't function? Rest doesn't mean to be dysfunctional. We rest, but we are still functional in every area of our lives. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
That's important to understand. And this is what he is referring to. Because the customs of the laws of humans make these things so difficult that you be like, if I got to do all this, then maybe this is not for me. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Now understand, we're talking about human laws. We're not talking about the instructions of the Abba. That's important for us to understand. So understand when it talks about that, it's important to be able to distinguish between human laws and the laws of the Abba, or the instructions or the doctrine of the Abba. Very important to understand. Are y'all following me? All right, let's finish reading. We're in verse 16. And once again, I want to point this out. What then shall we sin because we are under the law, but under esteem? Yahuwah forbid. Now, does that not sound like, if it's talking about the Torah, that it contradicts what he just said?
Right.
What then shall we sin because we are under the Torah, but under esteem? Yahuwah forbid. When he just said we can't be under both. No, it's again interpretation. And the first also applies to this verse. With that being said, once again, this is talking about under human law. Under human law. Under human law. What then shall we sin? Transgress the instructions of Abba Yahuwah because we are under human law? He said, but under esteem, Yahuwah forbid. No, we don't. We still don't do it. You know, many people make the excuse, well, we ain't at home. We in captivity and we can't keep the feast. We can't keep the Sabbath rest, but you can do whatever else you want to do. No, you choose not to keep or do because you don't want to.
That's right.
If you want to do something bad enough, you will find a way to do it. And that is the truth. Are you hearing me? Just because we may be under human law to a certain degree in certain areas does not mean that that dictates our whole life. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you're driving in your car, you have to stop at a stop sign, even if nobody's coming. Stop sign doesn't mean, you know, you fly through it just because nobody is coming. It means to stop until you can go. You have to make that stop, then you go. It doesn't mean, oh, ain't nobody coming, keep going. No, because if you do that and there's a cop nearby, you're gonna get a ticket. You're gonna get a moving violation, and that's gonna take points off of your license. Are y'all following me? I'm making a point here. So it's important that you understand that just because we're under those type of laws doesn't mean that we cannot keep the feast.
That's right.
And we can't celebrate what we've been given to celebrate. Stop making excuses and let's do what we're supposed to do.
Right.
And it is so. All right, let's finish reading. Verse 16 to 20.
Do you not know that if you present yourselves as obedient servants, you are servants to one whom you obey, whether of sin to death or of obedience to righteousness? But you will be thanked that you were the servants of sin, that you have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered to you. Being then made free from sin, you became the servants of righteousness. I speak after the manner of men, because of the infirmity of your flesh. For if you have yielded your members servants to uncleanness and to sin, even so now yield your members servants of righteousness to set apartness. For when you were the slaves of sin, you were free from righteousness. And it is so.
And it is so. All right, 21, 22, 23.
What fruit, therefore, were you having then, over which you are now ashamed? For the end thereof is death. But now, having been set free from sin, and having become servants of power, you have your fruit resulting in set apartments, and the end, everlasting life. For the wages of sin is death, but the favorable gift of power is everlasting life in Hamashiach Yahushua our Master.
And it is so. All right, now let's look at this verse 16. Do you not know that if you're obedient slaves, you are slaves to whom you obey, whether of sin to death or of obedience to righteousness? Now let's look at the footnote. You could theoretically remain in the law of sin, a law of men, human government, of what one thinks or what another thinks is the way to salvation, or you could accept the instructions of righteousness, the Torah. The point to That points to Mashiach, who is the living word. Yahuwah did not command obedience is better than sacrifice. And so you could be obedient or disobedient. In other words, he's not saying you have a choice. Obedience is better than sacrifice. And so you could be obedient or disobedient. The importance of understanding is what's in your heart to do. When you want to be obedient, you don't let anything stop you from being obedient. That's right. You don't make excuses. You be pushing and doing everything you have to make sure you are following and complying to the instructions of the Yahweh. But power be thanked that you were the slaves of sin. Now listen at this. But power be thanked that you were the slaves of sin, but you have obeyed from the heart that from that form of doctrine which was delivered to you. He said, you now have come to a place that you understand and you're going to do right. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Now, it's important that we understand that. Now, let's look at this. That's a lot. I'm going to read as much of it as I can. You do not get delivered or need deliverance from the law of liberty or Torah, because that is life and teaches us how to live. But we certainly need deliverance from men's doctrines and the law of sin. Clearly, Romans 6 and 17, shows we were delivered from something, and that being the doctrine of men, Pharisaic Judaism, which enslaved and held people in bondage yesterday and today. So it's important that we understand. To young, many people need deliverance from similar men doctrines, parading in various places as the words of power, such things as worship of statues, Mary worship, exposed as holy worshiping the mother of Yahush, denominationalism and the racism that exists within Christmas, Easter, Halloween, and the lights and the different doctrines that arise there from such things are not spoken of in the scriptures, such as the pre-tribulation rapture, and both men and women can be delivered from these things once they start obeying Yahuwah's Torah, as it is the broad open space that leads to King Mashiach. Decide for Torah right now and free yourself from men's chains. So it's important that we understand you have a choice. Either you walk in man's way, or you walk in the liberty that Abba Yahuwah has given unto us through Yahush Mashiach. And through this, you can live a life of shalom. It's not hard. Once again, it becomes challenging when we're trying to live a dualistic life. So I pray that on this Layla, that there was something that was said to encourage you to hold on, no matter what you may be facing, no matter how your heart may be a little heavy, no matter what you may be going through. Remember, you're not in it alone. And remember that the Abba didn't bring you here to leave you, but he brought you to this place so that he could show you his ahab, his mercy, his kindness, and his power. So I say to you, be strengthened and be encouraged. Keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong when you continue to obey his instructions. I am Aliyah Yasharal, and I am the Mora of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom Hebraic Belief Congregation located in South Carolina. I want you to remember here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom Hebraic Belief Congregation, this is the place where the Torah does the body excellent. Until next time, may Abba Yahuwah Baruch Atah and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so. And it is so. And it is so. What's the matter?